What's up everyone, it's Cameron with Car Audio Now again. Today I'm going to be checking out AudioControl's The Epicenter bass restoration processor and their EPIC2000 monoblock amp. If you're looking to restore, enhance, and amplify your bass in your car audio system or your setup, these two products are designed to work together to give you that powerful, clean bass that you're looking for. So I'm going to be unboxing both of these, breaking down some of their key features, and showing you how they work together. So stick around because this is going to be a good one. All right, quickly, before we dive into the unboxing, let's talk about what a bass restoration processor is and what it actually does real quick, high level. So unlike your typical bass boost or equalizer, bass boost you might see on your amplifier or within your equalizer, the Epicenter is designed to rebuild or add or supplement, whatever you want to, however you want to frame it. It's going to add those bass frequencies that may be lacking or missing in your signal due to things like compression, poor recording quality, or just your factory car stereo's limitations. So systemic limitations in your car that limits bass in your system. So it doesn't just add more bass though, it restores it. It gives your music that fuller, richer low end that you might be looking for, which is especially useful for cases where you might be playing compressed music, music files. You might be using streaming services with poor quality, and even satellite radio. Satellite radio is a big one. So, and to demonstrate this, I'm going to pull open a quick chart that AudioControl provides to explain it a little bit more. So this chart explains, this is AudioControl's chart explaining how the Epicenter restores or injects those missing bass frequencies. Let's break it down at a super high level, not going to get too technical, but what this is doing, what this unit does is it looks at the fundamentals of the original signal input. This is from your head unit or from your vehicle, and then it's going to take and reconstruct the bass signals throughout the signal curve, right? The sound curve, and it's going to be injecting bass at 1 octave below the current lowest note in that signal. So you can kind of see the red before and then the blue after this Epicenter is reconstructing and injecting bass at really every level of that bass signal. In other words, it looks at the higher notes, the full signal, and says, wait, I think this track is supposed to have a little bit more bass down here. And then it adds it back in a way that it feels is natural and balanced with the rest of that signal and that song. So if you love hip hop, EDM, rock, and especially some of those Spanish genres of music, this thing is what's going to make your bass hit like it should. So let's jump into the goods here and start opening them up, starting with the Epicenter. So let's talk the Epicenter and some of the core features of this thing. The first thing I'll dive into, probably the most important, it's the heart of this unit and really the control portion of this unit, is what's called parabass, parametric bass control. This is what lets you fine tune the bass frequency range so that you can shape the sound to match the rest of your setup and add or supplement, inject that bass that you want in your system. You can use this to target low, deep bass or punchier mid bass, right? Depending on what your system needs. And you do this through the sweep and the wide controls that are here on the top. So sweep is what is going to let you set the center frequency of the signal that you want to boost. So you're going to use this control knob to select the center frequency that you want to boost. This has a range of 27 on the low side, 63 hertz on the high side. So somewhere in between there, you're going to select the center of the frequency that you want this unit to focus in on and enhance or restore. And then the wide control here is what lets you control how wide or narrow the frequency range is that this unit's going to enhance, right? From that center point. So let's say you wanted to enhance specifically 30 to 100 hertz, that 30 to 100 hertz range. You'd set this sweep. I'm going to go ahead and do this using the provided tuning pick. You're going to set that sweep to about 90% to focus in and set that frequency at 60 hertz. That's right in between that 30 and 100 hertz range that you want to focus in on. And then you're going to select the wide. You're going to create a focus range of about 70 hertz wide total. So it's going to have to be 35 hertz plus or minus that 60, which is the center point, right? In order to enhance, the 30 down at the bottom and then the 100 at the top, right? So you're going to do that by making the wide about 15%. And now this unit's specifically going to focus on enhancing that 30 to 100 hertz range in your signal, and that's what you're going to use. You're going to use the knob to control how much you enhance that signal, and I'll get to that that knob in a moment. The next thing I'm going to talk about some of the controls that are under the panel, but before I do that, if you're reading the box or the features on the box, there's a feature called Patented Bass Maximizer. You might wonder what this is. It's really the entirety of the unit. It's a proprietary, patented piece of technology that combines, the hardware, the circuitry, along with the components of this unit to rebuild bass frequencies, right? So it's not really one component in particular, but rather the design itself, I'd say. I'm going to go ahead and pull this panel off though and show you some of the other features that are underneath the panel here. Pull the panel. All right, so now that this panel is off, let's take a look at some of the configurable features underneath the hood here, starting with the bass output right here, labeled bass output. And so this is kind of a jumper setup. You're going to move around these jumpers to set the configuration. It lets you increase or decrease the voltage output of this unit here to your amplifier between 2 volts and 10 volts. So think of this as a bit of a gate that limits how much voltage flows through to your amplifier. So for example, if your head unit, your source signal that comes into this unit has a voltage of 2 volts, and this setting was set to 5 volts, the overall signal voltage wouldn't exceed 7 volts. So you can use this to limit the voltage downstream to your amplifier. The next one in here is the ground isolation jumper. You move these around to select between 3 different configurations. So this is here to really help with interference. So alternator whine, hum, or any other feedback that you might be hearing because of a ground issue or ground related differences between your amplifier downstream and the epicenter. So, to be more specific though, this is going to affect the grounding path of the signal. So there's 3 different configurations. You can move this jumper around to configure it. The top is 200 ohms. It's labeled 200 ohms. For this setting, the ground from the RCAs and ground from the EPIC link. The EPIC link is what's used to power this unit from your amplifier. I'll get into the EPIC link in a little bit more, but just it's the ground and the power. So it's going to take the ground from the RCAs and the EPIC link and combine them through 200 ohms of resistance to create some continuity. The second one, the middle one here, is ISO. And for this one, the 2 grounds in this configuration, RCAs and the vehicle ground, those are the 2 grounds, are kept totally separate or isolated. And then the third one is ground, and this setting combines the two grounds together. And then while we're talking grounding configurations, there's another one over here called the input grounding. This one is great for advanced or more complicated systems where the source unit might look for grounded RCAs. I'm not going to get into detail about this one, but it's here. And then finally in here, one of the bigger ones, size-wise, but also feature-wise, is the programmable PFM subsonic filter. So this can be used to block ultra-low frequencies in the system that can cause distortion or stress to your subwoofer. So it can be this feature can be a little bit redundant with some of the subsonic filter settings on like an amplifier. You'll see that on the EPIC2000. But if you don't have the luxury of setting this up on your amplifier, it's a very useful one to have. I think this feature is particularly helpful for ported or vented enclosures. If a subwoofer that is playing below the tuning frequency of its ported or vented enclosure, it's like a sub playing without a box at all. It's super inefficient and it can damage your components, your sub. So you can use this to filter out those frequencies. And by programmable, I mean you can either build one, a PFM filter yourself. AudioControl gives you some instructions on how to do this, but it's not for the weary. I'll put that link in the description if you're interested. Or easy way, you can buy one online. You can contact your AudioControl dealer and you can get a filter for whatever frequency you need and replace it. And that's pretty much everything inside. So if you want precision control over your bass, between these features and the functionality here and the controls, this processor is going to give you exactly that. So next thing I'm going to move into is that EPIC2000 amp now. So let's go ahead and bring that on the table and open that up. All right, EPIC2000 is out of the box. First impression is this thing is compact, but it's dense. It's heavy duty. For an amp that's rated at 1400 watts RMS, 2000 watts peak, this is impressively small. So it's just over 12 inches long, about 6 inches wide here, 2 inches tall. This thing's gonna fit into tight spaces easily, behind the panel, under a seat, behind a seat, wherever you need it to. So let me start to show you where everything is on this thing, starting with the control panel here. So if you look here from left to right, you've got your inputs, your outputs, your gain, you've got your remote, your level control. That's the ACRE that comes with this unit. That'll go in your up towards your dash where you can control it. You have gain, low pass filter, subsonic filter. I mentioned that this is kind of redundant. That does a similar thing to what the Epicenter does, not exact. And then you got the EPIC boost and the level of the EPIC boost. I'll get into this in a moment. I'll flip this over. Then on the other side, you've got your power and ground, and then you've got the Epicenter link. I'll get into this in a moment as well. And then you've got your outputs. So let me put this down, talk a little bit more about some of those specific features. Starting with the EPIC boost, that variable bass boost that I mentioned a moment ago on the right-hand side. So unlike a typical bass boost that you might see on many other mono blocks, this boost lets you pick a specific frequency to emphasize, right, and focus in on and boost. So you're not just blindly cranking up the boost. This really means and provides tighter, more controlled bass boost that's not gonna just start to distort. And then on the other side, you've got this Epicenter link, right? This is a great example of how AudioControl is looking to tie their products together, tie the Epicenter directly into this EPIC2000 amplifier and make the installation easy. So if you're using the Epicenter, this is what's going to power and ground kind of the units together, reducing ground loop noise and simplifying the installation. You're just going to plug in, and I'll show you this in a moment when I set up my mock system here, but you're just going to plug this. You're going to plug into here, plug into the Epicenter, and the Epicenter is going to grab power directly from this unit. And I'm personally a big fan of this, not just from like an installation perspective. I think every high-end amplifier should have some form of a ground or power output for equalizers like this to simplify the installation and create consistency between like voltage and ground between the units. I've spent hours trying to trace back voltage differences and ground issues between amplifiers and equalizers, especially on boats. So this is especially handy. And of course, this thing is a Class D amplifier, meaning it's high efficiency, less heat, and tons of power in this compact design. I'm gonna go ahead and post up the full specs of this amplifier in the description below if you're interested in reading more. So how do these two things, the Epicenter and EPIC2000, how do they work together? You might be asking yourself that question. It's pretty simple. What I'm going to do next is mock up the wiring between these two together on the bench and show you what I mean. So let me go ahead and do that and give you a visual and start to walk through how these two tie together in more detail. All right, so I got my mock here. On the right-hand side, you've got your head unit. Don't mind my printed picture of the Horizon 10. And then all the way over on the left side where the signal eventually meets the subwoofer. So this is the subwoofer. So let's talk about this a little bit. The first thing that's going to happen in this process is the Epicenter is going to take the signal from your head unit and restore some of those or add some of those bass frequencies, right? So the signal here starts with your head unit, is sent into the Epicenter where it's processed a little bit, some bass is added to that signal, maybe some added voltage to the output signal via the bass output configuration underneath here that I showed you earlier. So this is gonna spit that processed signal, ideally with some more bass. That signal is going to be sent out to your amplifier. So process signal sent into the EPIC2000 amplifier, where you might use something like that EPIC boost feature that I showed you to further refine that signal or boost a particular frequency range. That might be unlikely. You probably won't need that. You might set the low pass filter though if you didn't want to use that PFM. That programmable filter on the Epicenter. You'll set the gain and so on, right? And that processed signal is then going to finally be amplified and then delivered. And just picture, some signal wire to the subwoofer. But that amplified signal is going to finally be delivered to your subwoofer, where the sub's going to get that clean signal to deliver deep bass without distortion. And plus here, other things worth noting, you've got this dual layer bass control, right? So on the right, the Epicenter remote over here, this is the ACR1 and is going to adjust how much bass restoration that this is processing, how much it's going to apply. And it's worth noting that this thing is super sensitive. You only need small tweaks to this thing. You do it wrong and you can damage your sister system. So this is going to control how much of the restoration is applied to that signal. And then over here on the left-hand side, this is where you can control really the overall bass output, the volume. This is the EPIC2000's remote. This is the ACR-E. So, and again, this one is going to be more of your volume control. Between the two, you've got a lot of control at your fingertips while you're driving. These are meant to be wired up near your dash or near your steering wheel. Something else that's worth noting as well is if you don't like these two separate controls, AudioControl has a unified control. It's called the ACR4. It's about $60, but it's going to combine these two knobs into one single knob where there's an inner and an outer ring, so you can control it a little bit more easily. And then I also wanted to quickly note the EPIC link right here and how that kind of functions. You've got, you know, the Epicenter has this EPIC link. It's got a plug. You're going to basically just take this wire that comes with the unit. You're going to plug it into the Epicenter here, and then you're going to plug that wire directly into the EPIC2000, and it's going to give the remote turn on and 12 volts. That's a 12 volt remote, and then it's going to give the ground wire as well. And it's worth noting that this is also like a fused power. You can see this little fuse right here, which means this is protected. If one of these shorts out, you know, for example, the remote might short out on a ground or something. This is actually protected, which is really cool. Great for installation. I mentioned that. All right, so who is this setup for? I think if you love deep, powerful bass, right? You have a system or you listen to a genre of music or type of music that's compressed and is lacking, you know, certain bass frequencies across the frequency curve, and you need to restore or inject those missing frequencies to round out your system, get more bass out of it. And if you need a compact and high powerful amp, this combo here is definitely worth considering. It's tough to beat. The Epicenter restores, it injects bass where you need it, and the EPIC2000 amplifies it, and you know, together it's a tough combo to beat. This is going to make your system hit hard, but do so while staying clean with a clean signal. If you're interested, I'm going to link both products in the description below. Let me know in the comments what kind of system you're running and if you end up adding this setup to your system. And as always, if you like the content of this video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe below. Thanks for watching.